Okay, there's the recording. All right. Welcome to Coming Out with Cannabis with your host, Christina D'Arcangelo Pooler and Wayne Kelly. Today we're talking to Dr. Annabelle Manalo, who is the co-founder and chief scientific officer at Masaya Medical. But first, CDP!
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. We're at it again. As you guys can tell, we're usually recording Thursdays or Friday mornings. We're so happy to have Annabelle with us today. Annabelle is an amazing woman, soon to be wife, mother,
scientist, healer,
advocate. There's so many wonderful things that I can personally say about Annabelle. She's a definite leader in our industry, and we're so blessed to be working with her and have her on our show today. So thank you, Annabelle.
Thank you guys for having me. Christina, we've been friends for a while now, so I've always been really excited to specifically do this interview.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to finally get you scheduled. I know there's been some difficulty and some rescheduled, so it's really good to get you on. So let's just have at it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Christina, I'll let you lead this one because I know you guys are sisters.
Thank you so much. Annabelle, why don't you let everyone know all the amazing things that you've been working on, especially internationally. You've been doing some really, really amazing work, and you've been traveling a lot. And why not just tell us how it all started? How did all of this begin, and why are you on this path today?
Sure, I'd love to. So I'm a cell and developmental biologist. I started in neuroscience at Georgetown, and then I went on and did a PhD at Vanderbilt University here in Nashville. That's where I'm at and living still today. I had my third child in 2016, and we thought he was perfectly fine, but we took him home and realized that he was seizing. So we brought him to the hospital. He had a stroke. And then we found out he was having around 200 seizures a day. And so, the journey begins where you're trying different medications to calm the seizures. The baby was in a medically induced coma. And, these were my colleagues. So I put a lot of faith into the work that Vanderbilt clinicians do and a lot of trust into their expertise. And, we tried everything. And by the time he was about 5 weeks old, we made a quick decision to do a surgery that's never been done before, where 38% of his brain was removed. And so, of course, you're wondering what kind of quality of life your kid is going to have. And we just brought him home and did everything we were supposed to do, give him his medications and take him to therapies as a, pretty much 2-month-old baby. And pray. And, he turned 6 months old, and I wasn't happy, that feeling when there's something inside, like, we've got to find something better, because he was 6 months old, pretty much still emotionless. And the therapy just wasn't, it was helping, but of course, the baby he was bombarded by a lot of medication. So, that's when I just started reading about cannabis. We are obviously hearing about it everywhere now, but 2016, you weren't hearing it much at all in Tennessee. And so, but I started reading, I started looking up PubMed research and trying to talk to colleagues, and there's really you're not going to get anywhere there, but just started reading and started to buy products and test them. And as a scientist, I know what it takes to run clinical trials. I know what it takes to put together protocol. I know what quality and standardizations mean. And none of the products, and I'm not saying they were bad products, there's just a lot of variability products today. And if I was going to take this risk, I needed to know exactly what was in that bottle.
Right.
So I can dial back or dial forward or try something different, right? I can't give him a full hemp extract that has 90 unknown or undefined cannabinoids. That doesn't make sense, right? Even though today we believe in this synergistic benefit, we can't define that benefit. So medically, you know, how do you go left or right if you don't really know what you're starting with? So, you know, I ended up making him a CBD oil, where I was able to infuse 3,000 milligrams of CBD into a medium that I had made for it to be neuroprotective, have no drug interactions. I wanted it to replace his medications and be potent enough to, you know, to work, not only to stop the seizure, but for his development, you know, start happening. So, I made it for him, and I was really shocked at the results. Obviously, was testing it, and my biggest concerns again were purity, potency, and consistency. And when his father told me, "Yes, Annabelle, let's do it," then I told nobody. I just started giving him the CBD oil. I went cold turkey off the medications.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, we started seeing results, and it just started happening really fast. To where first his eye came into view, next he started crawling, like literally.
Oh my goodness.
And he's 3 years today, and Christina can tell you,
He's perfect.
no issues, no
Wow.
abnormalities,
That's
no.
amazing.
I mean, some things may take just a tad bit longer, but there's no deficits in his development. Every kid is different, right? So
That's right.
so a lot to be thankful for, and because of that, I found a need for science and education in the space, real science and focused science. We are so far ahead. These claims we're making are so far ahead of the research we've done. We still can't diagnose a single condition reliably. And so because I love the plant and because I love what it's done for my kid and many of my friends and family, I'd like to be able to define that and use my tools as a scientist to communicate with others and to communicate with physicians and give them someone that they can rely on and trust and say, well, hey, you know, you guys shouldn't just close your door on this. We're seeing a lot of anecdotal, and yes, it's anecdotal, but who's going to do the studies?
Right.
You know, if professionals that did go to school for 10 years don't open their minds to it, get out of the box that, you know, we're put in, you know, to all fairness of them, and just do your part, at least be educated, you know, and who's going to educate them? So I found a reason to be in the space and a big gap. And I'm traveling worldwide, speaking at mostly medical conferences, pharmacy conventions. I'm focusing on those type of conferences, and usually I'm the only cannabis speaker there because it's those individuals that I need to kind of bring on board and convince, right? I don't necessarily need to you know, be on High Times conference, although I do it. It's just, you know, in order for me to really make a change or to drive the industry forward and pick up, hey, we need more scientists in this field and doctors in that field, and we need more trials and this and that. I need to be communicating with my colleagues. So.
Yeah. You mentioned education, and you know, it's important, you know, to be educated, but you know, I attended that listening tour yesterday with the lieutenant governor, and I think it's more important for folks to allow themselves to be educated. You know, we can put as much information out there as we possibly can, but if the public and the community don't have open ears, it's hard to teach. You know,
And I think one of the ways for those individuals that are listening maybe but not open to CBD or cannabis, I think really the proof is in the science, right? And clinical research. And I know all three of us on the show today is definitely big supporters and proponents of research and making sure that the studies are designed to prove safety and efficacy for multiple therapeutic areas for a series of different types of unmet medical needs with patients. I think the more information we can provide from that level, you can't argue with data, right?
That's right.
And honestly, Christina, I mean, that's probably why, you know, myself and Masaya Medical is looking to move forward with Affinity Biopartners and use the Cannabot because there are many individuals in the industry that are new to doing clinical studies, but they know that that's a gap to fill. However, they don't have a history on the first step to run a phase trial, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think that that's where we immediately, you know, clung on to each other because we realize that we come from the same world and we're really trying to bring this into the space in a very positive manner. So absolutely, I mean, that those are the gaps: the education, the science, the data.
Mhm.
That's just, we can't argue with that, and it's tough to focus on that when there's so much else. There's so much fluff in this space, and
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
when I see a patient that's hurting, and I can't, and I'm not a, you know, I'm not a physician, and I'm talking to patients, but a lot of them don't feel like they can go to their doctor, or
Mhm.
if they do go to their doctor, and the doctor does believe in cannabis. What have we as scientists provided those physicians in order for them to say, hey, you should take this type at this ratio, you should, you know, use Masaya at this dose? Like, how would those doctors
Right.
know? Because us as scientists, we don't even know,
Right.
you know? So we need to do those studies, and we need to be real about where we are in this space. I mean,
Mhm.
I spoke in Michigan with Michigan Neurology Associates, and it was a
I saw
multiple
that.
sclerosis conference, and it was done by a yoga group, Yoga Moves MS, and they put together such an integrative group of
Wow.
scientists, nurse practitioners, and people that were concerned with diet, people that were concerned with, you know, brain balance and stimulating motor skills, right? I mean, just an array of professionals
Mhm.
Mm.
put in one room in order to show these patients that, look, it takes a team, and it takes a bunch of different things for you to do positively in order for you to get through this disease.
Right.
You know, and that's what it really takes in this space. And so the top guy that was there, Alan Bowling, a phenomenal clinical physician, he clinical scientist, I should say. He had one slide on cannabis.
Hmm.
And that slide, because, you know, and him and I had a great conversation, but that slide was, you know, basically on all the risks and the lack of data, and how, sure, even though there's implications showing that in MS, patients are finding a relief of their spasticity and
Mhm.
all movements, and, you know, the World Health Organization quoted that, even
Right.
though, you know, there are real risks. And if we can't sit here and be real about it and try to define those risks the same way we're trying to define the positive things about cannabis,
Mhm.
we're never going to move forward, right? There's always going to
Right.
be, someone's always going to have ammo.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Push and pull.
Yeah,
Well, and
there's so much money in the space, so let's put it towards the research.
right.
Right.
Right. And one of the other things is, you know, everybody, not everyone, but at least us, you know, and many of our colleagues, we want to see good science. We want to see the studies. We want to look for drug-drug
We need the
interactions,
data.
specifically when we're designing studies. I mean, and biotech, pharma, device, where we're all from initially, in healthcare, that's what's done, right? And traditional, you do those studies for drug-drug interactions. So why do we think we don't have to do that here? It needs to still be done. We have to act in the same manner that we would if we were developing an antibiotic.
That's right, because, and a lot of people would probably disagree with that, Christina, but the truth is that, you know, and I'm just probably going to say this in 20 different ways, is that, you know, you have one miracle situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my son, and then, you know, individuals that say, well, I was supposed to have cancer, right? And then you have you, Christina, that you're pretty, you know, you rely on cannabis for your
Right.
needs, and we all have our own regimens that we figure out, but, you know, we're still in a time where we believe in our doctors and pharmacists and rely on their expertise. And
Right.
we're still in a time where, they just kind of run things.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And so, I really don't think that we need to fight with them. We need to figure out a way to verify all this beautiful stuff we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost a good father, and I couldn't do anything to help him.
Right.
It wasn't a strain I could pick out for him specifically, a formula that I could patent to make for him. I mean, he had stage 4 cancer and he passed,
Right.
in my eyes. And it just made me kind of feel helpless that, superwoman over there healing everybody with cannabis. It gave me a reality check that I obviously already know, that we need to be real about where we are in the space so that we can, have medications for certain situations, certain conditions that we can try and say, all right, well, if that doesn't work, let's try 1-to-1. And we know that this is a safe plant, so we can try different things, And so these studies that should be done right now should be super dynamic, because we know that we've, for the most part, done the safety and efficacy. We should be trying a pure CBD against a 1-to-1 against a for one condition group, and then we might figure out that every single person, something works better for their fibromyalgia, right? And then what is it about each individual person that made them different that then we could really and we're just not, that's where medicine is going.
Right.
So with how powerful the cannabis industry is, we need to be right in line with that same technology, same, mindfulness of how beautiful this could really be, and it could truly turn into personalized medicine with cannabis care. So these are things that I'm just so passionate about, but they're obviously very big picture, right? I mean, we have a lot of work to do, and really the reason for my international travels is because, I have a unique ability to speak to scientists in their lab who may not have to speak to MDs or report to, and to be able to translate that message to where I'm just kind of like a hub to all the sciences that's being done, so I can identify the holes and the gaps and work with all of them to really figure out, what the next steps are. So
he's getting the notice.
Each episode I have Alexa remind me when it's time to wrap it up, and I want to keep us on track. But, I had a, real quick for our viewers, because, looking at the background, and we discussed this before we started recording, I love the museum behind you. It just kind of reminds me of, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I think, look, there we go. Thank you. I expect George Clooney to come in and ask for some Dapper Dan, or something. But could you
coming today.
Could you just tell us what we're looking at so the listeners will know? I mean, some of the bottles behind you are magnificent, and it's generations of pharmacists.
Yes,
right?
we've recently partnered with a group, Inception RX in Nashville, Tennessee, Brentwood, Tennessee, and Masaya Medical. We've got a very natural view on the cannabis plant, but in a very scientific way, right? We want things to be consistent. We want to utilize safe and awesome plant molecules to make medicine.
Yeah.
And when I came in for my first meeting with these guys, and their grandfather and father were both pharmacists, and they bought pharmacies all over Tennessee, and now they're all over the United States. But every time they walked into a new pharmacy, I mean, there was just old medications. And I walked in and I was looking at the ingredient list on the laxatives and the headache. I mean, there's everything here. Don't register. So, maybe next call we could do a tour of Masaya Medical.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
It really hit me, because here I was in a professional environment with folks that I'm used to working with, and I'm able to bring cannabis into a space that has the history of how we used to do medication. You know, and I could see the progression of the medications here. Some are from 1850 and
Wow.
all the way to early 1900s and then to where we are today, right? And I can see the progression of utilizing all natural substances, then utilizing zero point 0.5 of this natural substance, 0.25. So then starting to get the standardizations down. And that's because even though they loved plant medicine and all the natural stuff, they realized for the better of all people, we need to standardize this. And we need to have consistency amongst this medication, or else we'll never really know what the true side effects are, or we'll never, you know, that's data. And you see progressing over time in this office.
That
You know,
is cool.
we keep and I'll probably send you a picture, but we keep a bottle of Masaya up there. It's kind of a timeline of where we are. And we've gone through this wave, right? There was a time where it was probably all Native Indians had their natural plants and herbs.
Can you guys see?
You know what you're doing.
I have it on my desk, and you'd see I'm taking it, and my husband takes it. I didn't even tell you, Annabelle, because he has carpal tunnel, because he works as a mechanic at times on these big dump trucks. And so you can imagine wrenching constantly in this motion. His arms really, really hurt, and his pain threshold has improved tremendously. And so he takes it every night before dinner. So usually it sits.
To remind me to make sure you guys are stocked up.
I will, and it usually sits on his placemat right there, right where he eats. Every night he takes it, and so he's excited about meeting you in June face to face because he's taking your medicine.
Awesome! I can't wait to meet him too. I'm just happy that it's helping. That's what we want to hear. You know.
Right on. All right. Well, let's keep it going here. And you want to take us out of here?
All right. Thank you so much, Annabelle, for joining us today. It's just always, I love talking to you. Just in general, you're my friend, my sister, my colleague, my spirit. You know, you just, and I love seeing Macario doing so well. Your baby turned 1 yesterday. So it's just all around, and your wedding's coming up on my birthday.
Oh, no.
Planned it any better.
I'm so excited. So thank you. Thank you so much. And please give everyone our best wishes, especially Annie, your COO, because we love her too.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was great.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a good day.
All right, bye.
Bye.